Studentai. Good morning to everyone. It's indeed an incredible feeling to have this possibility to stand in front of you for the fourth time. For those who are here for the first time in this conference, I'm Vytauto, Vice Rector for Communication at Vytautas Magnus University. And it's indeed a big privilege to start the fourth conference, Freedom to Create. First of all, I'd like to ask, do we have anybody who's been already with us, not for the first time, who participated last year? Do you have anybody? Wonderful. So we have, somebody who has already been twice with us, and that's the third time. Okay, Gieda, thank you. Thank you for raising your hand. Gieda has been from the very grassroots, and other colleagues here, Ruta, and those who have started to grow this wonderful blossom of freedom to create. So for the first time, we started with it in 2022 when we celebrated the centennial of Vytautas Magnus University of the University of Lithuania. Then in 2023, we focused on sustainable development goals. Last year, as we had the 35th anniversary of the re-establishment of Vytautas Magnus University as a liberal arts school, we celebrated it with our Freedom to Create, dedicated to liberal arts principles. So this interdisciplinary student conference, and with this interdisciplinarity, it's nothing to compare with other student conferences, is actually something we really want to be a beautiful tradition of our university. This year, all Lithuania is marking the 150th anniversary of our genius, composer and painter, Mikalojus Konstantinas Čiurlionis, and that's what we couldn't miss, right? And today we are going to create together a beautiful sonata of science and culture. Čiurlionis was a genius in many ways, and perhaps the embodiment of liberal arts, creativity, broad perspective on everything. In addition to painting and composing music, he also left some wonderful quotes. He said, "A composer in a creative moment has to have just one desire and one aim. If you want to write a good sonata, you have to immerse in it." So I really wish us to immerse in this wonderful conference today, in the discussions, in the plenary sessions, in informal networking, in meeting new people, and contribute with everyone's little part, but very specific one, to have this beautiful sonata at the very end. So, without further ado, I declare this wonderful event open. And applause are due here. And want to invite two professors from the Faculty of Arts at Vytautas Magnus University, Rimantas Plungė and Titas Petrikis, to deliver us more on how this fusion of science and art and culture can happen. With their plenary talk, Echoes of the North, Mikalojus Konstantinas Čiurlionis, Legacy in Transmedia Art. Colleagues, the floor is yours.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, students, and most importantly, creators. Humanity lives in a cycle of days and nights, of life and death, light and darkness, knowledge and mystery. We come from stardust, yet we create symphonies. We till the earth, yet we gaze into the stars. As we look back across our civilizational arc, what do we see? we see slide number 2, thank you. Yeah. We see the wheel, which is an invention that gave us mobility and social order. We see mathematics, an abstract language that gave us traits, economics, and system of order. We see warfare, the technology of killing, that have forged political boundaries and hierarchies. And we see art, the one force that never sought to conquer, to dominate, but only to connect, to remind us who we are, and most importantly, who we might become. From the earliest cave paintings to the most refined concert halls, each wave of technology has transformed our society and, most importantly, how we express arts. Iron and steel shaped our architecture. Chemistry brought color in the visual art expression. Mechanics tuned orchestras. And electricity gave birth to cinema and recorded sound. This is the backdrop of the world into which Mikalojus Konstantinas Čiurlionis was born. Lithuania, 1875. A rural society that is on the edge of transformation. The early 20th century was the whispering of things unseen. Electricity, X-rays, telephone, phonograph, cities rising, villages fading, time accelerating. I'm sure these keywords what resonates to us of today. And into this world stepped Čiurlionis, with a piano on one hand, the paintbrush on the other. And like Wagner's concept of Gesamtkunstwerk, or the total work, Čiurlionis was a pioneer of what we call nowadays transmedia. His sonatas were not just musical, they were visual, cosmic, spiritual. He painted music, he composed visions. He did not need a computer or video camera. He imagined the worlds of technology is only now this world is able to catch it up. But he also saw the danger, the growing cities, the mechanization of daily life, the disconnection from nature. Urbanization risks creating a hollow soul, emptiness, vacuum, spiritual darkness. And here lies his true legacy, what he does, not as a romantic dreamer, what we might assume, but as a visionary warning, which says that art without soul is machinery, and technology without love is noise. He asked, what is the role of a human mind and heart, and how this world in the relentless progress can reflect? He painted not just forests and stars, but our connection to them. He composed not just melodies, but visions. He asked questions. Though his life was brief, his work echoes forward with timeless urgency. Today, in 2025, our X-rays are James Webb and Hubble telescopes. Our electricity is artificial intelligence, and we moved from candlelight to quantum computing. We can reach Mars, we can map our genome, we can speak across continents in seconds. But the fundamental question is, do we feel more alive? We are living in a moment of dazzling advancement and profound disconnection. Climate collapse, war, a crisis of meaning, exterior, interior meaning. And yet this also is a time of creative rebirth for those who choose to build, not just to consume. There are two humanities emerging today, not divided by race, gender, ethnicity, not by language, nationality, even education. The boundary lies in awareness. One humanity is awakening. It creates, loves, cares, it seeks meaning, cultivates connection, and moves in harmony with the world. It listens and it tries to respond to the surroundings. The other is finding its way, still caught in the rhythms of survival, noise, distraction. But even there is a potential, and every soul carries the seed of life. And every moment is a moment, an invitation for awakening. Čiurlionis reminds us, creation is resistance, art is care. And the most advanced technology, the most universal technology we could ever achieve is love. I often wonder what Čiurlionis would do if he had a camera or a computer, what kind of symphonies he would show. And that's, by the way, artificial intelligence, how sees Čiurlionis at a computer. We may never know, but we are the ones who can tell those stories now, in sound, in image, in word, in code, and in care. So let us begin where let us end where we began. It is with light. Light is more than energy. It is presence, it is knowledge, it is life. But it is not just the existence of light that matters. It is its quality, the clarity of its source, the depth of warmth, the truth it reveals. Only the right kind of light fosters true growth. Civilizations do not evolve from chaos, but through focused, meaningful illumination, the light of insight, the light of empathy, the light of shared purpose. Like a seed among thousands, its purpose remains quiet until it is reaching the water, soil, and light. Only then it begins to grow. So too with the human soul, we can remain quiet before the light touches our hearts. Our spirits reflect what is given to them, just as our creative acts mirror the world. A conference like Freedom to Create is not merely a gathering of ideas. It is a deliberate act of cultivation, a generator of quality life. It offers not just information, but nourishment for thought, vision, and responsibility. Let this light guide us, all of us, not to burn brighter in isolation, but to grow stronger together, to illuminate the path ahead, and to shape a civilization not only for progress, but for purpose. Thank you very much. My colleague, the Rimantas.
Thank you.
Yeah, please join for the mic.
Aš galiu išjungti. So, dear colleagues, dear guests, dear community, it's really an honor for me to introduce my presentation. My presentation will be different from Tita's because, I am a visual guy, so I have less pictures in my presentation. And it's always nice to cooperate with Tita's because, we are a little bit different. He is concentrating to the sound. My language, my media is really visuals. And actually we are cooperating for so many years. We started to cooperate in business production. Later we wrote a national program for the media arts. And later we decided that, we work together already, so let's do something together. So yesterday we introduced our creative project, which we planned for a long time, the North. And actually we were inspired by Čiurlionis. And today, I have like double mission to say great words, but from other side, they must be very simple. So actually I decided to not put a lot of pictures on my presentation, but I, show you my favorite picture. Yeah, Čiurlionis was a great artist, a great person. I would say a visual philosopher. He worked with sound and visuals, but in the same time he was really personal, in his creation. So this one, a small village, and kings, they are keeping the small Lithuanian farm in their hands. So it's really the essence of Čiurlionis. And today I decided that my presentation will be simple too, really personal. And sometimes my students complain, teacher, you give so much information. All the theories are so complicated. So today I really am going to talk about, everyday life, how to see creative things in the everyday life and how to experience the world. And I would like really to inspire you, to take a risk and really to find out, how the world looks like. Okay. And how we perceive the world. People, they think, yeah, we always saw the world. We hear, we see, we can touch, we can smell, taste, and it was like always. No, it wasn't. When you were born, you were not able to see, to hear, just to know maybe colors, some lights, some sounds, and we need to learn to do that. And as a society, as people, we social, okay, it's not a nice word, but social animals, we really protect each other and we have time to develop our senses. And actually, we need to learn to hear, to see, to smell, to taste. And yes, to act in the space, we need to develop our movements and balance. And of course, all the senses, they are working together. Sometimes we think that we have possibilities to build our perception system. But, not always we think how we see the world and what kind of interpretation of it we can do. So, actually, you know, it's not so easy because, you know, you can say, come on, it's very easy. I can see everything. I can see the audience, I can hear the sounds, but it's not so easy because, you know, we should remember that our brain is locked in the skull and actually we cannot see anything. We cannot hear anything. And our brain can just get electrical signals from our eyes, from our ears, from our senses, and when we're touching something, you know, we know that it's not good idea to grab a hot iron or just, you know, move the hand over the sandpaper. So we have a lot of experience, but we always should remember that we are prediction machines. We're trying to guess how the world looks like. It's always, you know, we predict, and when we experience the world, we always need to correct what we predict, because we are guessing a lot of times. When we learn the foreign language, you know, when we learn to draw, when we learn to play a piano, we always need to try, we always need to make mistakes. And we still need to predict how the things will go on and always come back. And we're working like prediction machines. And, you know, neuroscientists, they say about artists, you know, they really experience the world in a different way. And I never thought about that. But after, you know, when I thought how we create images, how we are as a person create anything, because every person is an artist, every person is creative. So actually, yes, we always need to try to make mistakes. Also with the language, with the new media, and sometimes, you know, I am asked as an artist, what does it mean to make photos? What does it mean to make pictures and videos? And I say, you know, to learn to use a new media, it's like really to learn a new language. And of course, when we look to the world, we should always ask ourselves, is it real? And what we perceive. And I can give you an example. It's about color. And you know, yeah, I showed this image for my students. So the color, what we perceive is really electromagnetic radiation. But we can perceive just a small, you know, portion of the whole world. So actually, we always need to decide, you know, is it really real? And what we perceive, is it correct? And usually we are really, you know, acting in everyday situations like in an automated way. Like not robots, but nearly. So we always should stop and ask ourselves what we see and how we perceive and why we do a lot of things. So actually visible light, you know, shows this example that what we see, the world is not objective. Okay, what does it mean objective? Especially for the artist, for the researcher. And actually objective world should be perceived or exist without any, you know, person or human to perceive it. And actually we understand that colors are different as we see, and the world is different. So I always ask students, you should have a doubt, not only to act in everyday situations in an automated way, but you should always ask, what is going on? Why we do that? So Titas, he did a great presentation about Čiurlionis and about the changing world. But we should always remember that this is a norm, the changing world. We always, you know, reach the peaks and we go to the deepest valleys. And we always, not only like artists, but everybody, like a creative person, should really experience life in everyday situations. And of course, when we look to the environment, we understand that we are looking to nature and culture. And nature really is shrinking and culture always expanding, not only in the quantitative way, but in qualitative way also. So actually, we need to get, you know, understanding how and what for we are doing, you know, in the world. Okay, and you know, my favorite theory is, I am artist, but you know, I am really interested in the science because I did PhD in the education, and actually I am interested in psychology, in human geography. And sometimes I ask students, you know, how we perceive the world, how we act, and how we deal with other people. And sometimes I give, you know, funny examples for them. And I say, you know, yeah, what is human geography? We know about natural geography, economical geography. But what is human geography? They ask me, you know. It's always about communication. It's always about perceiving the world. And sometimes I ask my students, how would you feel if I would get close to you, you know? And they say, yeah, teacher, what do you mean? And then I ask, if I coming, you know, 1 meter to you, but if I am coming close, how do you feel? So it's really a human geography, okay? And I will use an illustration from my favorite author, the geography professor from Milwaukee University. He's Chinese, he's maybe in 80s or 90s, but you know, this old illustration from the book with the marked words, you know, explains how we perceive the world. We are in the center. And actually, we are egocentristic, you know, and always asks my students, you know, where is the center of the world? They say, London, Paris, Bombay, Tokyo. No, it's you. We measure the world just from our position. We understand the world, you know, from our position. And of course we perceive, you know, and we get signals from the world, but also we send the signals. And if we overwhelm, you know, with our signals the world, we actually can see a lot of things what other people, they do not see. And we call it hallucination. But if we really, you know, get more signals and we do not do any judgment about the world, it's not good too. So it's always in the interaction. It's always, you know, searching and looking. And look at this illustration. So in front of you is a future, and backwards is a history. So things which you already experienced. So when we move, we perceive the world, and we always trying to understand what is waiting us in the future. We see the horizon, so it's our future, but we have so many different horizons. We're really experiencing the world, you know, in so many different ways. So actually, when we move, we create the future. And I always tell for the students, you know, when you do the drawings, you are drawing 3D. When you move with the camera, with photo camera or video camera, you represent the world, but you experience all the time. Okay, and of course, creativity, you know, it's essence of every person. And of course, we need to think, what do we see, you know, in everyday life situations? So how we express our creativity. So adaptive creativity, make things better, okay? And there is another innovative creativity. Just use a different approach. And we should always combine, you know, all these things. And my speech is going to the end, and I would like to give some examples, you know, from Čiurlionis, which was genius because he saw things which other people, they do not see. But I would like to encourage everybody in this class really to see things differently. Not just in an automated way, but always use your adaptive or innovative creativity to see things. What do you see? An old ruins of the castle or a face? What do you see? The landscape or the human figure? So actually, we always should predict the world, but really make own interpretation, creative interpretation. And the arts, they are very important because they really encourage us to see the world in a different way. And if Čiurlionis was able to do that, everybody of you is able to, because we are humans and we share our creativity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this inspirational speech. And I think that I know what signals you have received, but I have received at least two: professionalism and passion. And I believe that if you came to their classes, these signals would continue reaching you. You might have questions, but let's now proceed to another presentation. And then at the very end, if we still have time left, the floor will be open for your questions, okay? So thank you once again, Professor Titas, Professor Rimantas, and yes, an applause. And now I would like to invite our next speaker, Greta Katkevičienė, who is an alumni of our university, and now she works at the museum, at Čiurlionis Museum, in the Department of Collections, right? And she will share with us a presentation of the multifacetedness of reflection of Čiurlionis, multifaceted reflection of Čiurlionis. So thank you, and then I'll invite you again when we have a discussion, okay? Good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Please. Good.
Hello everybody, as I was presented, I'm Greta Katkevičienė from Čiurlionis National Museum of Arts, and it is really a pleasure to talk to you all about a little bit more about Čiurlionis, because we're always speaking about his legacy and how he's a creative inspiration to all of us, but what do we really know about him and the context that he was living at the time? What kind of person he was? So who was Čiurlionis? Of course, we know those template descriptions that he was a composer, he was a painter, he was a photographer, he was a graphic artist, and so on and so on. But who was he and how he came to be this person that we admire? So, of course, Čiurlionis was born in Old Varėna in 1875 at around 3 years age. He and his parents moved to Druskininkai, where he spent most of his childhood. And the first talent that came through was musical talent. At the age of 5, he could already play the piano by ear. At the age of 7, he could already read notes. And he was so talented in music that he sometimes replaced his father playing the organ at the nearby church when the father was, for example, sick or out at some point. And his musical talent, of course, was seen, and he was sent to an orchestra school at Plungė, at Mykolas Oginskis orchestra school, where he learned to play the flute, he played the orchestra, and he traveled a little bit. But there he didn't stop, and of course he, with the subsidies or stipend from Mikalojaus Konstantino Čiurlionis, had the opportunity to go and study in Warsaw and Leipzig. So this is a very formative time for Čiurlionis. He is in this international arena. His co-students are from various countries. He is also from a different country. He's not Polish, he's Lithuanian. He finds his best friends, Eugenijus Šmiravsky, which you can see a photo of. And then he finishes by getting a degree of composer, and then goes to Leipzig to get a degree of musical teacher. And you would say, for a normal person, that would be enough. I have a good career, I can do my job, and that's enough. But not for Čiurlionis, of course. And during this time, we can see him writing a lot of letters and starting some of his paintings. Painting right now is just a hobby. And sadly, we don't have a lot of his early works because we have memories from his sisters that Čiurlionis would do some sketches, do quite some good paintings in Druskininkai, but then he would be like, this is not good enough. He would just put a cross in it and just burn it. So sadly, we don't have a lot of his early paintings, but we can see some of his early paintings from 1901, where he's painting probably the Baltic seaside, reminiscent of how he spent time there. Because when he was in Leipzig, he felt really lonely, and you can see that in his letters that he misses his home. He doesn't like being alone. And in one of his letters, he's writing, after a month I will have to move. I'm thinking about it like about the journey to the moon. And of course, my colleague already presented that he was living in a time of change. Electric light bulbs, cars, planes, and of course cinema. And Čiurlionis, being a very, very curious person, of course went to see some of the cinema. We know this because we see it in the sketches that he's sketching out cinema plays, people watching some kind of movie. And we are making a slight guess that maybe he saw, of course, Journey to the Moon. One of the movies that were very inspirational at the time, because it is a time also of scientific literature and scientific fantasy, such as Jules Verne and others like him. And we're making a guess that maybe Čiurlionis also was inspired by this movie, because we see some other signs in some of his paintings that I will show you later. But as I said, musical career is not enough for Čiurlionis. He comes back to Warsaw and starts painting. He starts professional painting. He enrolls into a school, and it is sometimes a funny thought because he is almost the same age as his teachers. So sometimes people are saying, who inspired who? Was it the student who inspired the teacher or the teacher who inspired the student? Because Čiurlionis, from the very beginning, has his own separate style, and you can even see him decorating postcards that he's sending out to his family, which serve sort of like sketches for his later paintings. And his early paintings are really raw in color. He's using pastels, and he's really interested in space as well, because as he was learning music, he was not only learning music, he was participating in aesthetic classes, history classes. He was interested in astronomy, numismatics, philosophy, and everything he could get his mind around to, he would be there. And one of his first paintings is actually dedicated to the world of Mars. And where we are looking at the world of Mars from Čiurlionis, we're thinking, what a non-scientific depiction. But at the time of Čiurlionis, Mars was not dead. We think of Mars as a dead planet, but at the time of Čiurlionis, people still had the discussions, who is living in Mars? Not whether somebody is living, but who? Is it people? Is it animals? Is it plants? And of course, that philosophy, when you're not entirely alone in your solar system, also has a change in your own perspective on life. And so we see Čiurlionis' depiction of what maybe the plants could look like in Mars. From the very first, we can see his attention to celestial objects. We see moons, we see suns. He's very interested and drawn towards various depictions of light. We see inspirations from Greek mythology on your right, where a Charon-like figure is taking probably the souls up to the next beach. We see the sort of figures in the composition which depict this experience, which he portrays through the various phases of the moons. And of course, nature is very important for Čiurlionis. We see not a lot of people in his paintings, it's rather an exception, but we see a lot of nature. And nature takes the first sort of main character place in his paintings. It either has hands, or even if it doesn't, we can see in nature not as a landscape, but as an active participant in his paintings. In 1905, he gets a very thoughtful present. He's a person who is very interested in traveling. He loves traveling. And one of his sponsors, Bronislava Bolman, gives him a present to go to Anapa, by the Black Sea. It's a resort. And he goes there and he sees the sea and he sees the mountains for the first time. Now, I don't know, some of you are not from Lithuania, but you probably have seen that Lithuania is very flat. We have no mountains. And for Čiurlionis to see that the the ground can go up as well, is a very interesting thing. And we can see that mountains really inspire him and become like a symbol for searching a new meaning. And from this journey, we also have another medium from Čiurlionis. We have a photo album, one of the only photo albums from Čiurlionis that we have, and one of the first creative photography pieces in Lithuania as well. At the time, he also delves in another technique, which is floor etchings, which is a type of graphic technique which was popular in Krakow so for a very short time. Why it was popular for only a short time? It's because it used very toxic chemicals, and also the result was quite fragile, which means it wasn't very sustainable. And of course, the chemicals didn't add to your health as well. So that's why it was popular for only a few times. But we can see that if there is a new medium, Čiurlionis is the one who wants to try it. He sees new things and he goes for them and sees whether they are for him. And of course, a lot of his ideas are combined into the creation of the world. It is his biggest cycle. It is a cycle of 13 paintings, and we can see the ideas that are in his mind come together into one cycle, how he's combining religion, theological studies, mythology, as well as science. As we can see from the very first paintings, there is sort of a hand of God which is saying, let it be. And it is combined with this sort of gases forming a new planet. And at the time, he was reading philosophers like Kant and Laplace, and they were saying that the new planets are forming through gases. And we know that this theory is partially correct and expanded on now, but Čiurlionis was working at the newest scientific news at his disposal, and he employed them in his art as well. And of course, the planet is still forming, we see the atmosphere, and it is so magnificent that we can compare these paintings to Hubble photographs, and we see some coincidences. Of course, these are coincidences, but it's fun to see that Čiurlionis can be reflected even in space. Or as we like to say, life sometimes is taking on art. Of course, the planet is forming. We see the new plant life. It's getting warmer a little bit. And of course, he employs tulips. And we see mushrooms. So mushrooms could possibly be important to him. He's a region from Dzūkija, which is sort of the mushroom region of Lithuania. But also we see similar mushrooms in Journey to the Moon, where the main characters are going to the moon. They enter some caves, and they see this sort of giant mushroom formations as well. Of course, he includes music as well. From the very first, as he started painting, he wanted to combine these two things. And it's a common misconception that Čiurlionis was a composer and then a painter. But he never left music. He was painting and painting and composing music at the same time. And even some musicologists are saying that the painting had inspiration to his music, as we can see the notes becoming sort of like brush strokes. Of course, the first life as the grass snake, and the first sunset into the sea, which is very reminiscent of Lithuania as well. Now, he talks a lot about traveling, and we can find a lot of quotes in his letters that are due about traveling and what it does to a person. In 1906, he got the opportunity to travel to Munich, Dresden, Vienna, and Prague, where he looked at various art museums. He saw Rubens, he saw Böcklin, one of his favorite painters, but he also takes a note not to talk only about the art that he has seen there, but he also takes a time to talk about his thoughts being there, as well as the stars above him that shine at night, because he really likes to take walks. And he talks about traveling as how it enriches the person. He was always very curious. And he talks, even though he was very poor in life, he didn't have a lot of money, his thoughts had a grandiose life, and we can see it from his paintings as well. And he sees that, he says that if you want to reach this grandiosity, you have to live fully in your mind. You have to free your thoughts. And so in 1907, he creates his first musical sonata, which combines the two genres, music and painting, very cleverly. As this is not only using the name of sonata and maybe allegro, andante, and so on, but it also takes on the musical forms that you would play in a sonata. So for example, allegro is very structured. You can see how he presents the theme at the top. You can see how it is being developed, and how you can see it is repeated at the bottom as well. And musicologists are even saying that the two sun rows depict the musical connotation of you have to repeat the first part and then you can move on to the development. Andante is much more grand, it's much more relaxed. It's where the composer can show what is the theme, what are the vibes of this musical creation. And so we can really see the warmth of the sun, we can almost feel it. Scherzo is a really more playful part. You can see also the same structure as it is being presented at the top, there's development, and it is recapitulated in the bottom. So it's much more playful. And in the finale, he's doing the same thing as other composer. He is repeating all of the parts before and then adding something else. So of course the bell symbolizes that the sun has died. But on the bell we can see allegro, we can see andante, and we can see scherzo. And behind the web we can see that stars are shining. And the stars are other suns. So we can see that the sonata is still continuing somewhere else. At the bottom we see these sort of pillars with kings sitting on top, sort of saying we can't do anything here, but the sonata is continuing somewhere else. And it is really interesting that, again, we can see some connections to modern science. We see pillars of creation. Of course, Čiurlionis didn't see pillars of creation, but it's another fun coincidence that we can have in today's modern world of how Čiurlionis sort of comes from 100 years ago and makes these connections with his art. 1907 was also very productive for Čiurlionis in Lithuania. As he comes back, he's helping Lithuanian art exhibition, the first Lithuanian art exhibitions to take place, and he meets his future wife, Sofija Kymantaitė. Together, they're very productive. They encourage each other, they critique each other's works, and they work on bettering the artscape of Lithuania. And Čiurlionis from the very beginning is very considering this. It's very important to him to help develop this Lithuanian artscape, and that's why he joins various organizations and helps with these Lithuanian exhibitions. In 1908, the couple spends a few months in Palanga, and this is again a very productive time as she is writing a lot of things and he is painting. They meet up, they give critique to each other, and this is where Čiurlionis, one of the sonatas, is born as well. This is Sonata of the Sea. And here we can see these topics. We see the rhythm of the waves that is repeated in the dunes. We see the sort of pearls, which are actually ambers, coinciding with Lithuanian seascape. We see the sort of mysterious town, which can be reminded as the myth of Jūratė. And of course, we see the final wave, only few paintings that have Čiurlionis initials in it. And this wave is actually really reminiscent of Japan style. At the time, Japan only opened its borders, and its etchings and various depictions flooded Europe and was used as inspiration for Claude Monet, for Van Gogh, and even Debussy had some of Japanese etchings works on their musical notes. And we can see the style also echo in Čiurlionis in those delicate lines coming through. During this time, the couple also wanted to create a first opera of Lithuania, opera of Jūratė, and they called it as their first child. So Jūratė is interesting because it's one of the myths of Lithuania, of how this Baltic goddess is living in the depth of the Baltic Sea and falls in love with a simple fisherman, and later dies because it's killed by a vengeful god. Now Čiurlionis knows this version where Jūratė dies, but we know a different version where her loved one, the fisherman, dies. So it's interesting to see how the myth evolves and how the couple was working on it, how he was making these sort of scene decorations, he was creating music, and she was supposed to write the whole dialogues and the main scenario. Sadly, the opera was never finished due to Čiurlionis' death. In 1909, when Čiurlionis gets married, he also spends a time traveling through Samogitiją or Žemaitiją, where he is stricken by the wayward crosses there. And we can see this person. Čiurlionis always holds past very dear to him. He is very interested in these folk traditions. He's very interested in Lithuania's past, but he's also very interested in its future. And this is a person who is sort of holding all of these three timelines together. He's very focused on the past, where he come from, where is Lithuania coming from. He's very focused on the future, his visionaries, his visions for how Lithuania could be and how the art world could be. And he's very strongly in the present, like he's doing everything that he can to go towards his visions as well. And we can see him developing his own symbolic styles. He's of course using ships. Ships is often sort of this recreation of journeys in his paintings and graphic arts. He's using these geometrical symbols, and he's creating his own symbol system. And one of the most important, not creators, but scientists at the time, to him was Camille Flammarion. Now when I say scientist, please don't imagine it as today's scientist. Camille Flammarion was, of course, an astronomer, but he's also interested in metaphysical journeys of the subconscious, and how we can travel. And he said the mind can travel if you have a curious mind. And so he divided the universe in planes, and how one can travel those planes if he learns a lot and is curious, and so his subconscious can reach higher levels. And out of this comes the masterpiece of Čiurlionis, which he said he poured his whole life into it. And here we see the whole symbols of it, the various planes. We see angels on top of everything because they have the purest subconscious. And we see two rulers. And of course, with Čiurlionis, we are left to wonder which one. Is it only a shadow of the light one? Is it something more mysterious? Or maybe it's just a depiction of our own cosmos, as we see light areas much more smaller than the dark areas in our own space. So sadly, Čiurlionis' life was very short. He lived only 35 years, which might seem a lot for young people, but for me it's not that much. And his last painting he painted while he was getting better. From Rex, from painting his last masterpiece, he got a severe nervous burnout, and he was sent to Poland to get better, to a health resort, and sadly he was not allowed to paint there. And we have only few instances that he was allowed to paint when he became better, and this is one of the paintings that he painted. So this is the last painting that we have. But we can see all of the symbols that Čiurlionis used. We see the sun, we see the ships, we see angels, but we see a very distinctive style. And of course, we are left to wonder, was it just a person very missing his art pieces and just painting like a child? Or was it something new, a new turn of events, a new turn of his style? But with Čiurlionis, he never explained his paintings, which is a great thing for viewers, but very hard for historians and art critics. But we're left to wonder. And sadly, Čiurlionis died, as I said, at 35, never meeting his daughter and never knowing the legacy that he had on the life. And I guess he would be very happy that we are celebrating him now. And I just want to wish you all to, if you want to celebrate Čiurlionis, just stay curious, because he was always curious, and that's what achieved him the legacy that he has now. And I would like to wish to you as well to stay curious and be free to create. Thank you.
You're just incredible, guys. Okay, so Greta, Rimantas, Titas, could you please also come here? They have opened us the door to such vastness of everything: mystery, visionary, art, science, and of course the life of Čiurlionis was definitely too short. but our plenary was incredibly short, right? So we don't really have much time to give questions, and I believe that there are many things going on in your head, and perhaps you would like to really ask a lot. But we need to run into our sessions where you will share your insights. If somebody wants to have, like, I don't know, half a minute reflection or a question for the colleagues, maybe we can have that half a minute. Anybody with any comment, any question? Then let's leave it with this open door, right, to exploring further. And my final mission in the session is to really give our warm thanks to the plenaries. You can keep applauding. Greta, really amazing. And I was listening and thinking that the MU has done wonders to empower you with your studies, and now you are really an ambassador, a wonderful ambassador of Čiurlionio. So thank you, and a book for you to explore further. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wonderful. There are other two ambassadors of our university. I think that with Titas representing music and Rimas representing painting, I guess you make like really legacy of Čiurlionis. So, and here there are ties with the Vytautas Magnus University colors to make you even more ambassadors of our university.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we really need to give applause to Tautvydas and Dignas, who are actually making our session possible to be seen by numerous watchers on the internet. So applause to Titas and Tautvydas. And now we will proceed in different rooms. You can see the room numbers on your program. One session is staying here with the international colleagues, and the others disperse into those different rooms, and then we'll come back for the final discussion after these sessions are over. Thank you for being with us, and continue with the Sonata.
Tai sveiki dar kartą, labai malonu matyti mūsų publiką, pasilikusią auditorijoje šitoje sesijoje. Ją moderuosiu aš, Menų fakulteto prodekanė Rūta Mažeikienė, taip pat man padės mano kolegė Kotryna Gečaitė iš VDU švietimo akademijos. Ir šioje sesijoje mes iš tikrųjų buvom numatę turėti 5 pranešimus, kurie, taip sakyčiau, gana intriguojančiai turėjo vesti mus nuo tarpukario reklamos per audiovizualinę esė link galiausiai muzikinės kūrybos pristatymo. Tačiau kol kas mes matome, kad yra 3 iš 5. Tai reiškia, kad mūsų pagrindiniai kalbėtojai gali saugiai jaustis laike, jūs jo turėsite daug. Tai reiškia, kad mes kaip klausytojai turime galvoti apie klausimus, kuriuos užduosime, nes klausimams taip pat turėsime laiko ir taip pat galėsime pabaigoje turbūt visos sesijos dar pabandyti įsitraukti į bendrą šią sesiją vienijančią diskusiją. Tai pirmiausia, suteikiu žodį mūsų svečiui, nes tai yra studentas, magistrantas turbūt jau, Aretas Kisielius iš Vilniaus universiteto. Labai smagu, kad Vytauto Didžiojo universiteto studentų konferencija LAISVė KURTI auga, apie ją sklinda kažkokiais būdais žinia ir pas mus jau įsitraukia ir kitų universitetų bendruomenės nariai, nors šiaip mūsų pagrindinė tikslinė grupė yra mūsų studentai, mūsų atvykę užsieniečiai studentai ir taip pat mūsų partnerinių mokyklų gimnazistai. Tai džiaugiamės, Aretai, turėdami jūs kaip tokį išskirtinį svečią ir suteikiu jums tada mikrofoną. Jūsų pristatymas vadinasi Tarpukario Lietuvos reklama kaip kultūros tekstas.
Ačiū. Ir iškart paantrinsiu pristatytojai, kad labai smagu būti čia ir atskleisiu tokią mažą paslaptį, kad taip pat studijavau Vytauto Didžiojo universitete bakalauro studijas komunikacijos krypty. Tai labai smagu grįžti į savo alma mater ir šiandien pakalbėti apie 20-ojo amžiaus laikotarpį ir būtent to laikotarpio reklamą. Na, aišku, smagu, kad tikrai neišsilakstėt į kitas paskaitas, kitus pranešimus ir domitės būtent šitą temą taip pat. Na ir savo pristatymą šiandien noriu pradėti nuo tokio pasvarstymo, tiesiog labai paprasto. Jeigu taip įsivaizduotumėm, lyg pirmą kartą matytumėm, pavyzdžiui, repelento nuo vabzdžių, kuris turėtų mus apsaugoti nuo sezoninio uodų antpolio produktą, arba radijo imtuvą, kuris ketina mus skraidinti kaip ant skraidančio kilimo ir nuotykius kažkokį žada, arba galų gale dantų pastą, kuri sako, kad štai kokie gali būti jūsų dantis, jeigu vartosit šitą produktą. Tai mums atrodo, kad tie produktai yra tiek įsismelkę į mūsų kasdienybę, kaip ir turbūt pati reklama. Na ir gal mes taip nejautriai gana galim žiūrėti šitos atvaizdus, tačiau 20-ojo amžiaus Lietuvoje tarpukariu šie produktai ir taip pat reklamos buvo gana inovatyvus dalykas, nes iki tol jų paprasčiausiai dar nebuvo. Na ir man šis laikotarpis įdomus tuo, iš ko ir išplaukė šito pranešimo turbūt aktualumas, kad reklama taip pat sudėtingėjo būtent tuo laikotarpiu. Atsirado pirmosios reklamos agentūros, pirmieji specialistai, kurie grįžo iš Dresdeno, Leipcigo, Ciuricho universitetų ir čia Kaune daugiausiai kūrė pirmuosius egzempliorius reklamos, kurią mes taip suprastumėm panašią į šiuolaikinę. Na ir jeigu pradžioje nuo, tarkim, 1918 iki 30 kokių antrųjų reklama buvo gana kukli, gana neišraiškinga, priminė labiau skelbimus. Tai nuo 32 metų viskas pradeda panašėti į šiuolaikinę reklamą, tačiau ji nepardavinėjo konkrečių produktų, bet, kaip aš sakau, tam tikrus normatyvinius kodus. Pavyzdžiui, kaip atostogauti, kaip laikytis higienos, kaip palaikyti savo grožį. Taigi šiandienos pranešimu ir noriu truputėlį pasiūlyti kitokią perspektyvą į reklamą negu įprasta ir žiūrėti ją ne kaip į informaciją apie kokią nors prekę ar paslaugą, tačiau pasižiūrėti ją per kultūros semiotikos prizmę ir suvokti ją kaip kultūros tekstą, ką nors sakančią ir apie mūsų kultūrą, tarpukario Lietuvos kultūrą. Na ir kai taip sakau, kas tas kultūros tekstas yra, turėčiau patikslinti, kad laikau tai pranešimu, kuris užkoduotas mažiausiai 2 kodais. Tai pirmas yra natūraliosios lietuvių kalbos ir antrasis ekonominis, kuris reiškia, kad natūrali kalba yra pertvarkoma į manipuliacinę reklamos strategiją, bandoma įtikinti mus ar ne. Ir ta jos retorika skirta tam, laikau gana charakteringu jos papildomos išraiškos bruožų, tai yra intertekstualumu. Na ir turiu taip pat pasakyti, kad reklamą analizuoju iš Algirdo Liaus mokyklos Paryžiaus vizualinės semiotikos idėjų perspektyvos ir, kur relevantiška, tiesiog papildau kultūros semiotikos idėjomis. Na ir analizė ir kaip tai vyksta, noriu pristatyti susitelkdamas ties konkrečiu objektu, tai yra tualetinio muilo Kipras Petrauskas reklama, kuri pasirodė žurnale Jaunoji karta 38 metais. Visai įdomu, kad ši reklama ir apskritai Kipro Petrausko vartojimas reklamoje operos solisto yra ganėtinai ekscentriškas tarpukaryje, dėl to, kad tai yra vienas iš turbūt nedaugelio, gal net 2, kaip kai kurie istorikai teigia, atvejų, kuomet asmens vardas buvo panaudotas reklamoje ar konkrečiai consumer products ar ne, vartojimo produktams. Ir aišku, tai neliko nepastebėta ir visuomenėje, kai šitas produktas išpopuliarėjo, sulaukė labai dviprasmiškų vertinimų ir buvo laikomas tiesiog nemoraliu. Tai galim nujausti, kokia to laiko perspektyva buvo ar ne į reklamą. Taip, ir gali kilti klausimas, tai kodėl dabar tas tarpukaris ar ne, yra ir šiuolaikinių reklamų, ir sovietmetis buvo kaip toks periodas. Tačiau iškart skubu patikslinti, kaip ir minėjau, dėl to, kad augo ekonomika, buvo bandoma įsilieti ir į Europos politinį žemėlapį, buvo sunku ekonomikai tuo metu plėstis, kas lėmė didesnę konkurenciją vietinių verslų būtent Lietuvoje. Na ir dėl to, aišku, atsirado iš tos konkurencijos ir minėtos reklamos agentūros. Ir kas visai įdomu, kad įsitraukė ir profesionalūs menininkai būtent tų reklamų kūrimą. Ir žvalgydamasis po Mikalojaus Konstantino Čiurlionio archyvus, visai netikėtai aptikau, kad skulptorius ir grafikas Petras Rimša, garsėjantis savo tokiais esminiais meno kūriniais kaip Artojas arba Lietuvos vargo mokykla, ar ne, kurie tapo mūsų kaip ir valstybės identiteto ženklais, taip pat kūrė savo laisvu laiku reklamas ir viena iš jų yra skirta būtent žemės ūkio trąšoms Čilis Alietrai, tokiam specifiniam to meto produktui, skirtam suvaldyti gana nemažą to meto krizę, tai yra badą, kuris grėsė tuometiniai Lietuvai ir tiesiog buvo būtina kažkaip tą žemės ūkį inovuoti, restauruoti. Tai ši reklama būtent ir skirta reklamuoti produktui, kuris gali padėti visą tai pasiekti. Taip. Na ir tiesiog labai svarbu mano analizuojamoje reklamoje yra tai, kad susidomėjau pasirodžius 2015 metais šiam tarpukario Lietuvos reklamos albumui būtent ta tema, dėl to, kad po tiek daug metų, daugiau negu 80 metų, mus vėl pasiekė tarpukario reklamos, netgi 560 egzempliorių šitam albume yra, neįtikėtina kolekcija, kuri bandė pristatyti, kaip ta reklama vystėsi pas mus. Tačiau buvo gan dviprasmiškai sutikta ir šiuolaikinių reklamos specialistų tos reklamos buvo taip kritiškai sutiktos, sakant, kad gal jos naivios, gal primityvios. Na ir man kaip semiotikui pasirodė, kad tai nėra visai pakankamas šių reklamų skaitimas, nes tikiu ir matau, kad yra ir kultūrinis sluoksnis juose, kurį verta patikrinti semiotiniais instrumentais. Na, iš to ir atsiranda šitas tyrimas. Taigi persikeliant prie pačios reklamos, kad būtų visiems aiškiau ir galėtumėm kartu diskutuoti, kas joje yra, per kultūrinės vertės, noriu šiek tiek paskaityti jums patį tekstą, kad gal ne visai gerai ir matomas. Mieloji Gražina, Bėdojome, dėjavome, kad šįmet neteks pasidžiaugti saulę ir savąją jūrą. Išvažiavau Palangon ir neapsigavau. O vis dėlto ir vieną bėdą turiu. Išvažiuodama taip skubėjau, tai tą į lagaminą dėjau ir visiškai iš galvos išėjo, kad reikia nusipirkti Kipro Petrausko tualetinio muilo. Be jo vasaroti pusę malonumo nustoti. Taigi, mieloji, kreipiuosi į tave, prašydama, kai šeštadienį važiuosi, nupirkti ir atvežti. Būk maloni, linkėjimai bendradarbiams, tavo Toni. Tai perinant pirmiausia prie pačios vizualo dalies, tai domėdamasis reklama, tarpukario reklama, pastebėjau, kad tuo metu įprastai reklamas apvesti, įrėminti, tai ar art deco rėmeliais, tai ar geometriniam linijom, ar įvairiais tautinio rašto motyvais. Tai šitoj reklamai mes taip pat galim pastebėti apvadą, tačiau jis yra šiek tiek modifikuotas ir tai visai reikšminga dėl to, kad jis ne tik apjungia visus šitos iliustracijos elementus, bet ir galų gale yra sutrigubintas. Tai reiškia, kad visi elementai yra apjungiami, kaip minėjau, to mėlyno, mano pažymėtų rėmų, kuris dėl prasto kopijavimo ne visai nusiskaito, dėl to reikėjo papildomai patikslinti. Tačiau tą vaizduojamą žurnalą iliustracijoje taip pat dalina vertikali mėlyna linija į dvi dar atskiras dalis. Taigi, jeigu vienas rėmas apgaubė moters figūrą kairėje, tai kitas rėmas dešinėje apjuosia tekstą. Na ir kaip minėjau, viskas yra apjungiama ir svarbu dar tuo, kad rėmas šiaip atskiria tą fiktyvę, iliustratyvę atvaizdo plokštumą nuo realaus žurnalo, nuo leidinio, kuriame jis yra išspausdintas. Ir semiotiškai šis toks ėjimas yra gana reikšmingas vien dėl to, kad vizualiniai semiotikai suvokiama, kad bet koks rėmas tai yra langas į tam tikrą plokštumą, pro kurią žiūrima į už stiklo esančią įrėmintą tikrovę. Taigi tas tolydaus paviršiaus perskirstimas, jis ne tik perspektyvą įveda į šitą reklamą, tačiau ir priklauso mūsų stebėtojo pasauliui, o ne vaizduojamo atvaizdo erdvei. Aišku, sakydamas, kad tai yra žurnalas, turiu iškart vėl patikslinti, kad to meto pavieniai žmonės labai mėgo kolekcionuoti spaudą, jie rinkdavo didžiulėmis kolekcijomis, jos buvo išleidžiama neįtikėtinai daug ir konsultuojantis su Ąžuolyno bibliotekos specialistais sužinojau, kad tokie rinkiniai sudarė nemažą dalį spaustuvių verslo, kadangi žmonės kreipdavosi ir užsisakinėdavo šitas įrišimo paslaugas į kietus viršelius. Taigi dėl to darau prielaidą, kad mes reklamai matom ne tiesiog knygą, kaip galėtų atrodyti mums iš šiuolaikinio žmogaus perspektyvos, o tiesiog žurnalą. Taigi susikuria toks įdomus efektas kaip žurnalas žurnale. Na ir komentuojant toliau, matyti, kad moters figūra tarsi sudaryta iš linijų. Raštas, kurį mes matome tarsi rašytų laišką, nebe kaligrafiškas, ne rankos rašysena, bet standartizuotas. Taip pat, iš to aiškėja, kad pabrėžiama ta sukonstruota ar netikrovė būtent šitoj reklamai. Tačiau, kaip miniu, leidinys, kuriame pasirodė šita reklama, taip pat svarbus ir jis pabrėžė, kad ta reklama kažkaip susijusi ir su tikrovės pasauliu, tikrovės plotme. Na ir kaip kultūros semiotikas Jurijus Lotmanas įvardyja, ta žurnalo žurnale arba tekstas tekste situacija sukuria prasmę pereinant tarp skirtingų semiotinių sistemų, o būtent tai ir suteikia šiam atvaizdui retorinio įtaigumo. Na ir matyti, kalbant apie moterį, kad nėra palaikomas tiesioginis kontaktas akių su mumis kaip žiūrovais ir tai gan neįprasta, ar ne, iš šiuolaikinės reklamos perspektyvos, kuriame dažniausiai yra provokuojama tam tikra reakcija, kažkoks tai tapatybės siūlymas, kaip mes turėtumėm tą žmogų vaizduojamą traktuoti. Tačiau visa tai yra kažkaip kitaip pasukama šitoj reklamai ir siūloma šiek tiek pakontempliuoti ir susitelkti tai, ką moteris daro, tai yra rašo laišką. O tas tekstas, kurį matome dešinėje, yra būtent tas rašomas laiškas. Na ir dar pati mėlyna linija, kurią galite matyti būtent knygos viduryje, visai įdomus akcentas dėl to, kad jis pabrėžia šitos reklamos skaitimą iš kairės į dešinę, kas yra būdinga vakarų ir Lietuvos kultūroms. Ir tuo pačiu metu šitaip įvedama laikinė perskyra. Tai reiškia, kad mes pradedame skaityti ir matyti pirmiausia moters figūrą, kurią reikėtų suvokti kaip momentą laiško rašymo, tai yra momentą prieš. Ir galiausiai jau parašytą laišką dešinėje, kurį mes turėtumėm suvokti kaip skaitymo momentą. Na ir visai įdomu, kad iš to atsiranda pačios reklamos naratyvumas, tam tikras pasakojimas. Na ir šitoj vietoj dar noriu pastebėti, kad pati reklamos pasirinkta laiško forma įpareigoja mus kaip žiūrovus tam tikrų būdų sureaguoti į reklamą, tarsi atsakyti į laišką, kas būtų labai nemandagu, jeigu mes to nepadarytumėm. Ir iš to atsiranda visai įdomi perspektyva, kad mums taip ir įsiūloma įsigyti tą muilą Kipro Petrausko ir tarsi atsakyti tai Tonijos užklausą. Pereinant šiek tiek prie paties laiško turinio, kuris visai toks svarbus raktas yra į suvokimą šito atvaizdo, tai yra, kad pati laiško pradžia yra gana ekspresyvi ir tie kreipiniai mieloji Gražina, tavo Tonė išduoda, kad tai yra neformalus bendravimas, siejantis abi moteris ir panašu, kad tai yra darbiniai santykiai, tas linkėjimas kolegoms, bendras veikimas erdvėje, kaip mes bėdojame, mes dėjavome ar ne, kad yra tų ir nusiskundimų visokiausių dėl laikmečio peripetijų. Na ir tai kartu įveda tokias perskyras tarp išvykimo į Palangą, kuris žymi poilsio erdvę, ir tą darbo erdvę, kurioje ir yra rūpesčiai, ar ne visi. Tai taip pat yra pabrėžiama, kad to, kas sava, tai yra pajūris, ir tai, kas yra svetima, tai yra jėgos, kurios trukdo džiaugtis būtent tuo laisvalaikiu pajūryje. Na ir semiotiškai žiūrint, savoji jūra, būtent ši figūra, išduoda to laikmečio vieną iš peripetijų, tai yra gana opę Klaipėdos krašto problemą ir klausimą dėl jos suvereniteto, taigi ar tai yra lietuviškas ar vokiškas kraštas, ir visos tos dvejonės per visą tarpukarį taip ir driekėsi. Na ir kitas klausimas, tai kodėl ta darbo ir poilsio perskyra tokia jau ir svarbi tarpukario žmonėms. Na ir čia vėlgi svarbu paminėti, kad tuometinė valstybės politika labai skatino vystytis turizmo industriją, vietinio turizmo, keliauti po Lietuvą, netostogauti Italijoje, neišvykti kažkur į kitus kraštus, o investuoti savo pinigus į vietinę turizmo infrastruktūrą. Na ir skatino būtent proto darbininkus, tai yra mokslo, politikos, karybos elitą ilsėtis būtent čia. Taigi galima sakyti, kad tas atostogavimas Palangoje žymi tiek ekonominį Klaipėdos krašto vystymąsi, tiek labai svarbę lietuviškos tapatybės palaikymą šitam krašte. Vėlgi svarbu tai, kad Palanga tuo metu buvo besikuriantis ir pats didžiausias to meto Lietuvoje kurortas. Ir jis buvo gana prestižinis ta prasme, kad čia lankydavosi tiek Antanas Smetona su savo šeima, taip pat Kipras Petrauskas, kuris buvo sutiktas su orkestrais ir panašiom linksmybėm. Na ir be viso to, ta populiarinimo žvaigždžių kultūra, kas atvyksta viešėti į Palangą, būdavo iki tiek detalizuota, jog pasirodydavo publikacijos to meto spaudoje, skelbiančios, kas atvyko, kas ilsisi būtent Palangoje. Na ir tai vėlgi leidžia daryti prielaidą, kad bendradarbės, kurios čia ruošiasi į tą Palangą, tai yra būtent moterys, kurios prisideda prie būtent šito regiono plėtros. Ir vėlgi matyti, kad tas muilo įsigijimas nėra galimas Palangoje, ir tai gana keista aplinkybė. Klausimas, kodėl? Na ir kaip minėjau, ekonomika vis dar kuriasi, galima įsigyti mineralinio Vytauto vandens, įvairiausių trešnių, kurių nerasite kitoje Lietuvos dalyje, dėl šilto klimato augančių ten. Bet dėja tokių dalykų kaip higiena arba dantų pasta ar tas pats tualetinis muilas tuo metu dar nebuvo itin išplėtota ta infrastruktūra ir Kaunas kaip labiausiai išvystytas miestas, sostinė, buvo labiau šaltojo sezono, ar ne, šitoje reklamoje tarsi taip portretuojama centras, o Palanga buvo šiltojo karštojo vasaros sezono sostinė. Na ir šiek tiek susitelkiant į patį vertės objektą, kuris čia yra pateikiamas šitoje reklamoje, tai yra tualetinį muilą Kipro Petrausko. Na, sunku būtų suvokti, kodėl ne kažkokios tai švaros vertės yra suteikiamos jam, o būtent malonumo, kuris yra išreiškiamas be jo vasaroti pusę malonumo nustoti. Tai čia vėlgi svarbu nukrypti šiek tiek į Kipro Petrausko biografiją ir prisiminti, kad jis buvo ne tik vienas iš valstybės teatro, dabartinio nacionalinio muzikinio teatro įkūrėjas, kuris keliavo taip pat ir gastroliavo po Europos scenas ir dėl to tikrai buvo įdomus visai Lietuvai veikėjas. Tačiau jis garsėjo ne vien tik tai savo tokiais pasiekimais profesinė prasme, bet ir dėl savo malonios išvaizdos. Ir čia tokia intriguojanti detalė, kad Petrauskų namus, kurie čia visai ir ne per toliausiai yra įsikūrę, dažnai užtvindydavo gerbėjų laiškai, taip pat ir dovanos, ir kaip viename iš jų skelbiama, prie siunčiamų pirštinaičių yra pridedamas raštelis, jog Orfėjas nebūtų raudonomis rankomis scenoje ir tikrai atkeliaudavo pas būtent operos solistą tiek ir meilės, tiek ir subtilaus susižavėjimo, vienu žodžiu, tų žinučių. Taigi galima daryti prielaidą, kad Kipro Petrausko figūra ir tas pavadinimas muilo įveda ne vien tik tai kažkokio pripažinimo socialinėje terpėje tokį sluoksnį, bet ir įsteigia pripažinimo Palangos vasaros salonuose, tai yra diskusijų klubuose, kurie tuo metu kartu su iš Kauno atvykstančiais poilsiautojais pasiekdavo ir tuometę Palangą, kuri labai mėgdavo tą būtent inteligentiją, užsukti kurhauzą vakarais ir padiskutuoti šiek tiek apie to meto politinius ir kultūrinius įvykius. Na ir apibendrinant savo pranešimą, noriu tokius 3 dalykus dar pabrėžti. Tai pirmiausia, kad žvelgiant per kultūros semiotikos ir kultūros teksto perspektyvą į šią reklamą, galima matyti, kad įvedant tuos 3 rėmus, apie kuriuos jau kalbėjau, persikloja ribos tarp to, kas tikra ir kas yra fiktyvu. Na ir sulaužius šitą imanencijos uždarumo principą, atsiveria galimybė tekstiniai informacijai priskirti naujas kultūrinės vertes, kurios į tekstą įterpiamos per socioekonominį, kultūrinį intertekstą, tai yra operos solisto tapatybę, Klaipėdos krašto problemą, Palangos kaip besikuriančio kurorto situaciją. Na ir galima būtų sakyti, kad toks menkas daiktas kaip tualetinis muilas žada labai didelės permainas, ar ne? Įsigijus lietuvišką Kipro Petrausko muilą, drauge įgyjama vieta po saulę, tiek individualiu, tiek kolektyviniu lygmeniu. Ir galima būtų sakyti, kaip pavienis asmuo įsigijęs šitą prekę, tu sulauki pasisekimo Palangos kurortuose, diskusijų klubuose, na, o kaip visuomenės narys prisidedi prie Klaipėdos regiono nacionalinio identiteto palaikymo ir, aišku, to priešingų tų svetimų jėgų susilpninimo, stiprinant savo vietinę ekonomiką. Taigi būtų galima sakyti, kad ta nauja elgesio schema, kaip ilsėtis, kaip leisti savo atostogas, tai yra vykti į Palangą ir tam ruoštis, bandoma įtikinti ne vien tik tai Gražiną, šito laiško atlikėją, bet ir jaunoji karta skaitytoja ir galų gale, kadangi šita reklama pasiekia ir mūsų laikus, tai yra ir mus tam tikra prasme. Taigi kultūros semiotikos perspektyvoje matyti, kad reklama susikonstruoja kaip kultūros tekstas, na ir galiausiai su savo kodu, su ta schema apie tai, kaip leisti laisvalaikį, yra perkeliama ir mūsų kultūrinę terpę, kultūros sistemą ir tarpukariu. Taigi ačiū Jums už dėmesį, na, o dabar gal bus ir klausimų.
Taip, tai pirmiausia, dėkojame Aretui už tokį išsamų, įdomų pranešimą, kaip mums parodė pranešimo autorius, kiek iš vienos reklamos, žiūrint į reklamą kaip į kultūrinį tekstą, kiek daug mes galime perskaityti apie laikotarpį, nuo ekonominių iki socialinių, kultūrinių dalykų ir panašiai. Aš nebejoju, kad kažkam kilo klausimų, tai drąsinu užduoti, arba galvoti gal dar į sesijos pabaigą kažkokį klausimą. Kol kas Taip.
Kaip tik analizuoju irgi savo magistro darbe daugiau reklamų ir matyti, kad iki 32, iki prasidedant ekonominiai pasaulio krizai, kuri paliečia ir tarpukario Lietuvą, buvo labiau laikomasi iš carinės Rusijos paveldėtų reklamos formų, tai yra rašytinių, tekstinių skelbimų, tas pats formatas jis daugiau yra sakiniai, tekstas, kuriame bandoma koncentruotai pristatyti, kad mes jau turim šitą prekę, jūs galite ateiti čia ir čia įsigyti. Tai gan kuklios reklamos, gana limituoti tie raiškos būdai, tačiau kiek vėliau buvo labai suprasta, kad tie grįžtantys auklėtiniai stipendininkai iš įvairių Europos universitetų, kur